Ever heard of the term jack of all trades? That's the kind of feel that I get when I'm an interpreter, because we get different kind of knowledge. The knowledge is kind of vast. We are not sticking to one single industry, and we are not actually getting the knowledge of a single sector, like how we actually go to school to study for, like go to university to specialize in one single subject. No, that's not the kind of deal that we're actually running here, because by covering different industries, you actually get a first base experience. You actually listen and you actually manage to imagine the situation as if you are there in person, and you manage to explain. It's because it's a three-way call, so normally what the client explains would be what you'll be explaining to our client, which would be our client's client, in this case the LEPs, the limited English proficiency people. But you get the picture. When we do the explaining, we actually get a first base knowledge on how exactly we are supposed to understand this thing that we're explaining. For example, let's just say a child delivery process, a baby delivery process, or for example a genetic screening. So most people wouldn't really have knowledge about this kind of things. So the major challenge would actually be background noises. In terms of background noises, I feel like the main concerns, because it can be helpful and sometimes it can't be helpful. It will just disrupt your interpretation process. So when it comes to the disrupting part, you can't interpret when you're not able to hear clearly. The noise may be on the client's end or the LEP's end, so it's going to be very stressful for you to pick out the words, and it could actually be a completely different kind of words. So every situation actually has a solution. So you just have to inform the client, pre-inform the client about it, tell them that there's this background noises that are disrupting your interpretation process, and you have to try to find a way so that you could actually communicate with them. Like, for example, ask them to turn down the volume. For example, if it's just the volume of TV, since you can't really interact with the LEPs. And also, there's also this part, you can never directly communicate with the LEPs. LEPs tend to do this. They tend to communicate with you directly, thinking that you are the person who they're talking to. So you have to bear in mind to inform them that you are just the interpreter, and you have to keep the client informed at all times. As for the part where the background noises would be helpful, let's just imagine 911 call. So for example, your assailant's at the back and you're the LEP, you're making the call, and you're saying, I can't speak much right now because the assailant is there. And you have to be very attentive to the background noises, whether there are knocks or any thumping sounds or any shouting, or you have to be very attentive of how we have to approach the case. But bear in mind, no matter what, please we have to keep the client informed at all times. So whether it's a good situation or a bad situation, actually. So it's kind of challenging, because when you are under a stressful kind of situation, like the LEP is stressed and they go too fast to pick out the details over the background noises, to pay attention to the background noises to ensure that there's nothing going on. It's kind of challenging, but it's pretty fun, because as I mentioned earlier in the perks, you get various skills and knowledge.